That's been a really nice change. I actually drove down there, took my mom through there the other day. She hadn't been through Main Street, and she just loved all the trees that were lit up. And I have to say, there wasn't a parking space on Main Street. It was full, and there were people walking around, and it was such a nice change from just a few years ago where downtown was just crickets.
Right.
It's just empty.
Your local government's not just out there trying to do all these things willy-nilly. Like a lot of these things are very strategic, and they're coming from a place, especially from the voice of individuals who have lived here and want to see us be successful and grow.
It's great to be able to get insight from leadership. And today we have with us the man, the myth, the legend, our mayor, Mr. Nate Duckett. And he's here to record a two-part series. First part is insight in today's what's going on in the state of the market in Farmington today. And our next part of the series is what's on the horizon. So stay tuned to this episode to hear more. The Den, powered by the Lions Group, a show that explores trending topics in real estate, entrepreneurship, and personal growth. We're a small team of professionals with over $400 million in sales and nearly 2,000 successful transactions. You're listening to time-tested experts and industry leaders. Here's a refreshing look at real estate happenings and more. Welcome to The Den. We've had a long-standing relationship over the years, Nate. In fact,
we sure have.
When I first met you, I think Barbie had to shave your dreadlocks.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we had.
They've never grown back.
Yeah. You put on a flannel, and you were going to see Pearl Jam at the time, and running big box stores.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I met you before that, though.
Yeah. So
you moved here in '96, right?
No, 2001.
Were you 01?
Yeah.
Why did I think it was? Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely wearing flannels. Definitely going to Pearl Jam. All those things were in the cards.
Yeah. And you were in Texas at the time, weren't you?
We were in Texas in 01.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. San Angelo, Texas.
When did you move back here? Why does it seem so easy for some people to buy and sell real estate? It's almost like they hit the jackpot over and over again. What if I told you anyone can have those same results? But there's a secret recipe to do just that. We're the Lions Group, the go-to source for all your real estate needs. Located in northern New Mexico and southwest Colorado, we pride ourselves in creating seamless and successful transactions for our clients. We take the time to share the secret recipe and give you an advantage in today's market. At the Lions Group, we make it a priority to truly understand your needs. That's why we offer private consultations just so we can dig deep. Based on that consultation, we do the heavy lifting by developing a strategy specific to your situation. Ready to find out how we can help you achieve your real estate dreams? Go to sjcbroker.com to see our informational video series for buyers and sellers, or check out our links in the show notes below to schedule a private consultation with any one of our partners.
We came back in October of 05.
05. Okay. And that's
or
when
04. Maybe it was 04.
And you took over the Hastings store.
Right. So I worked for Hastings for 12 years during college, and then ran stores for them in Yuma, Arizona, San Angelo, Texas. Had 10 stores in West Texas as a district manager. And then our baby girl was born, and Barbie wanted to come back home. And there was an opportunity at San Juan Regional for her to take over a clinical coordinator position on the labor delivery unit. And I came back, and Hastings was very gracious and let me take over the Farmington store for, I left in 2010.
Yeah, I remember, and you did a great job with that store.
It was the number one store in the company when the company went under.
Yeah. It's like the last guy sitting at the dinner table on the Titanic, right?
Right, yeah.
This is great.
And everybody I meet across the country, if they tell me what town they're from, and it'll be like a small town because that's where Hastings really prolifferated, I'll be like, yeah, there was a Hastings there. Oh my gosh, I love Hastings. I wish we still had Hastings.
I do too, actually. I loved Hastings. It was great.
You were a Friday night regular, Ben, I remember.
Yeah, I was. Well, and I remember when you were hiring, one thing that stuck with me was you had a line of people come in to fill positions, and you're like, nope, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone. I'm like, and I was asking you why, and you said, well, because if they can't read the room and know that they're going in for a job interview and dress appropriately, we do not want them as employees. And I thought I was pretty astonished by that. I thought that was pretty awesome that you were setting the level of expectation right out of the gate.
Well, it worked. Yeah, we got a good crew out of that team that we had there. So I think that's important in any aspect of life. If you're going to show up for, even if you think it's just going to be a 10-minute conversation, kind of a pre-interview kind of thing, I still think you'd show up and dress appropriately for the job you want to have.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
And it was certainly an eclectic group of people who worked at Hastings, but all of them really cared about the mission, and they cared about what we were doing. And it starts from day one.
Yep. And leadership. I love that.
Yeah.
So we actually have a storied past before we met, because I purchased a small boutique real estate firm in the early 2000s, 2001, and it came with a couple of wonderful realtors at the time, one of whom was your mother.
Yes.
Miss Cherry Work. And the lessons I've learned from that wonderful woman still stick with me today. And it was the only time in my life where she would walk in and say, "We got to talk." And I'm like, I thought I was the boss, but I realized the pecking order very quickly. And over the years, Shannon and I, obviously, we love your mother very much.
Oh, yes.
And Shannon, you've known Sherry probably longer than I have, because she was in real estate for years before I got here.
We were in real estate together before you ever moved here.
Yeah, wonderful woman.
Yes.
You calling her old again?
No, let's not go down that road.
Every time.
We had a mishap on an episode or two. There was almost a chalk line out in the parking lot.
Yeah.
I told her, though, if she's going to run me over and chalk line me, to skinny my hips up with the...
Right. At least make them look good.
Give him a butt.
Yeah. Give me a butt. Thank you. That's great.
Well, you guys are very kind, and I will tell you that my mother reciprocates and appreciates the friendship very, very much. And Shannon knows just how much, especially over these years, how much it's meant to her to be able to call on anyone and have lunch and go places. And so I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
we love her to death.
Love her.
She's a wonderful woman. So let's dive into it. We all have some questions we want to throw your way, Mr. Mayor. So today, in today's Insight with Farmington, what do you think what are some of the biggest projects we got going on?
Well, that's a big question, because we have a lot of really big projects going on right now. And, I feel very fortunate, regardless of how you may feel about what's transpired the prior 4 years of the presidency. They put a lot of federal money out there for local communities, and we have taken complete advantage of that. So we have over $65 million of federal money working right now here in the city of Farmington. Now, of course, that's inflated the price of everything else that you're doing in life. But I think we were very opportunistic. We've got a great group of individuals working for the city who have some tremendous insight and knowledge of how that system works. So just to give you an idea, obviously the biggest one, which is going to end up being about a $47 million project, and that's Penny Hills Bridge extension. Adding an additional bridge over the Animas River, connecting in our friends up on Crouch Mesa so they have a direct path right into the center of town, I think is going to be a very big project, hopefully opening up additional opportunities for you all in the world of real estate for development up there, both residential and commercial development.
So you're going to run that road over and then hit 3,000 and go up the draw.
Correct.
That's correct.
Yes.
So we'll tie in.
The part that the city actually has ownership of goes to Southside River Road. So once that intersection is in, the road goes to it. That's our part of the project. The part that goes up through the draw is actually San Juan County's project. Yes. Yeah. And right now we're in the middle of a 60-day session in Santa Fe where we're making sure that we have the monies needed to finish that project. And the county's project has grown just like ours had as far as total cost. It's north of $22 million now for the part that they need to do.
Mm.
And if you've driven that in your 4-wheel drive, it is simply it is a drainage. It's a drainage area. I mean, so you can imagine the type of infrastructure you're going to have to put that road in.
Yeah, and quite a climb at the end of it.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting project.
Yeah.
But one that, it's been on the books for us for over 25 years, and really proud that we're able to get it taken care of.
Yeah. We've been talking about it for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I think it'll be great for our area. It really kind of connects us.
Yes.
And expands the reach of Farmington proper, and allows just for easier ingress and egress.
Yeah, there's going to be a number of benefits here. I think from emergency services, it's going to be a big deal to be able to access, places where people are needing assistance. We're moving one of the other projects on here. We just approved $3 million renovation to the building that we purchased from Hillcorp off the Bloomfield Highway for the new Farmington Police Department. They're going to be able to utilize that road to help get from point A to point B also much easier, which will be nice.
Yeah.
A lot of folks, of course, are concerned about the congestion that we see on East Main Street. This, I think, will help some of that also. I started thinking about the other day that I could leave my house on Foothills, go across the bridge, connect Southside, and really go all the way down to downtown if you wanted to take a different route.
Oh, yeah.
But I will tell you, if you've driven on South Side River Road, which I really had never spent much time on that road because I didn't need to, it's a really pretty drive. I mean, right next to the river. So it's a very pretty drive.
Yeah. Yep. And they've got all kinds of walking trails and things like that. You can pull off and let your dog run a little bit. And
right. And we'll be able to connect, the next part of our trail system. So moving into another project that we've really been focused on, we want to connect our trail system from Westland Park, so on the very west side of town, all the way up to Pinion Hills Boulevard. And having that kind of access for multimodal means of transportation, I think will be great. Been working really well with a lot of the homeowners and property owners along that corridor. The city has most of the property they need to put this, to finish off this trail system. The unfortunate part is the costs associated with doing that. We'd set aside monies for it a few years ago, and the bids came back, nearly double, triple of what we had anticipated. So things have really changed in that regard. Yeah,
no doubt. Now that trail system, can you paint the picture on that a little bit more? Like, are you thinking about connecting? Where is it going to begin and end?
So right now, where we are on the furthest west side of town is the Among the Waters Trail. And that starts at the Bisti Highway. And it goes that goes all the way around and connects now to Berg Park. So you can go from Bisti all the way up to Browning. Currently.
That's so pretty incredible.
Yeah.
It's like 8.5 consecutive miles of trail there. From Animas Park, which is on Browning, there is a gap from Browning to the museum, Farmington Museum. So we're working on that component of it. And then from the museum, it's going to go behind Middle Fork Square and then head up towards what will be Anisi Park. Reagan Anisi has donated a big plot of land that he wants to see developed as a part of this trail system, and then head to Pinion Hills Boulevard.
Man, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I think it's, for me, growing up in Colorado, I mean, Colorado did a really good job of making sure that public access to the rivers were made a very prominent feature of most towns, Durango being a great example of that. Here, of course, we're having to go in and retrofit into areas that were traditionally industrial, right on the river. And, in order to bring that type of amenity to our area, which it ties in with, 60% of the state's surface water flows through Farmington. That's a big number when you think about it, especially when you got the Rio Grande that goes down the middle of the state. But between the Animas and the San Juan, that's 60% of the surface water.
Yeah.
So having people have access
you
to
don't
that.
Throw La Plata in there? Come on, man.
We used to.
Yeah.
That used to be the third river, right? Only when it rains heavy up north do we see that thing flow. But yeah.
Dos Rios.
Dos Rios.
A trace. Well, I love that. I love that you're connecting the trails there. Yeah. And really, I mean, that's always been my question is why haven't we used our water frontage the way that we should? And it's really cool to see that the city is making that push.
It's very expensive to go in and buy land and also work with those property owners because there's a lot of hesitancy. What am I opening myself up to if I allow there to be trail systems developed in this area? And, frankly, one of our longstanding local citizens who over the years had not wanted that trail system behind their house finally committed to it. And they've been a really big advocate now for the benefits they've seen because there's a fence now between their property and the river, which is, made it so where some of the bad components that may exist there, they're not dealing with that anymore.
Yeah.
But another project that's tied into this is one that's currently under construction, and that's at Farmington Museum. So there's two projects going on there. A lot of the monies for both of these projects came out of the Gold King Mine spill fund. Yeah. So just so you know, that would be the Market Pavilion that's being built on the south side of the museum, which will be an indoor-outdoor facility. It could be used for the growers market. It can be rented by the Lions Group for a customer appreciation event. It could be utilized for any number of private things. There's an amphitheater that will sit behind it. And then to the north side of the property, we, of course, are building the new Riverway feature. So everybody who's driving down East Main Street, you look at the giant,
huge boulders
that are sitting outside of that. That is a part of what will be an adjustable river wave that will be in the Animas River. It'll have a part of a wall that goes up and down based upon the flow of the river that will funnel in water to an area where you could ride a surfboard.
That's so wild.
Isn't
And
that
when you
wild?
say just adjustable, it's adjusted by nature, or you got like Paul over there pulling a lever?
Well, I think there's a lot of automation to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paul, I mean,
I'm not that strong.
if Paul wants to move the lever down.
It depends on how much it pays.
Yeah. Right. I think Paul's got the strength to torque it. I think he'd be all right.
Yeah.
do
You crank on that thing.
But it's going to have, it's really neat about this channel and seeing some of the pictures now that where we've poured the concrete into the river is it's going to have a fish diversion area. It's got a boat diversion area. It's got the main thing coming in for you to be on your raft, your tube, your surfboard. And then the other part of this is the North Farmington ditch. That's where they have their diversion for the water that they use in their ditch. And because they partnered with us, we were able to get through the Army Corps of Engineers pretty quickly as far as the permitting goes, which is why this has all of a sudden come up so quickly.
Yeah.
Because it's going to improve their diversion.
Yeah. It seemed like it just popped out of nowhere. All of a sudden, you were
really
just
did.
rocking and rolling.
Like as soon as the permits were made available, we went out to bid, and I think we had the company. They're out of Colorado. This is all they do is build these kind of water features, and they were Johnny on the spot, and it was approved, and they were working the next week.
Wow, that's pretty
Wow.
incredible for
Yeah.
government agencies to move like that.
Yeah.
As
But
someone
again-
who uses the river, I'm very excited about this feature because that used to be such a dangerous spot. There used to be a low-hanging bridge over it.
Right.
And then also just all the strainers on the side. I think this is really going to open up a lot of outdoor recreation for Farmington. I'm very excited.
Yeah, and it'll be a
Yeah.
draw for
Mhm.
clients that are moving to the area. We
Yeah.
can, show them around and say, these are some of the wonderful amenities that we have.
Well, it's been a mission of mine since I was elected in 2014 to develop that property because it's a big piece of property. It's our closest point from Main Street to the river. Isn't this something we should really showcase and make it bright and shiny for everybody to be proud of? And it's happening, man.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Man, that is so
Yeah.
good to see. When I love the fact that you took advantage of the money that was being offered
Right.
the last 4 years or so.
Well, Julie Baird, who's retired from the city now, but she's working for us as a contractor. She's been a tremendous asset in helping us push this forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Julie, didn't I get my original Labrador from Julie? No, different Julie.
Different Julie.
Okay, different Julie. That's a whole nother subject. She was the last one, and Shannon goes, "You really need this dog," and she'd bring her over, and just like rolls of fur and
Chub.
chub.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how can I turn that? You're mine, baby.
Yeah.
But different Julie. So
Yeah.
So
Another cool thing about that property, so there's 3 phases to the museum redevelopment area. You have the Market Pavilion, which is phase 1, in the kind of south side of the property. Phase 2 is actually a redo of the parking lot, the main parking lot area, the ingress egress going into the museum to make it easier for people to utilize that area. And then the third part is going to be what sits on the north side overlooking the new Riverway. And there we have letters of interest out for any companies who are interested in kind of opening up some niche, whether it's a boutique hotel, it's restaurant related, something that we could really magnify the river right there and have a great company who's, bringing people in for those kind of services.
yeah, I love that because I feel like the river gets lost.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that
You don't see it.
You don't see it.
Yeah.
I mean, you see the green belt, but you don't see how awesome that amenity is.
Well, it's like Lake Farmington. And Lake Farmington's beautiful,
Mhm.
but you don't see it from the road. And so many folks, even after we've opened it up, years after we've opened it up for recreation, still have never been there because you don't think about it.
Mhm.
And that's been a really big development for our area too.
That's always a fun surprise when we do tours and stuff with people moving in, professionals moving into the area. I always like to take them out in that direction and then pop them up on the hill. And most of the facial expressions are like, whoa, I had no idea there was a lake right here. That's pretty cool. They've been here for a few days and you have this fantastic amenity right over our shoulder. So I'm glad that the city has taken a stance to develop that quite a bit more as well.
I completely agree. And I think it's, we have the aqua park now that we reinstituted out there last year at the beach. And then we've also done some fire mitigation into the, kind of the north side of the lake, which has opened up more areas for people, like kind of covey kind of places where people can go and set up and really enjoy a great day at the lake. I
Yeah.
love those coves back there.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we, we wanted to congratulate you on the downtown Main Street project.
That's been a huge success.
You've seen a boost. I mean, I was reading up on it, and it was about promoting, community, also business, but also arts and crafts.
Yeah.
And showcase our local area, which was pretty cool. Have you gotten good responses from the general public for the most part?
Very good responses.
Yep.
Yeah. We're not tearing out the roundabouts. So that's the thing that a lot of apprehension.
There was a big truck that went over this one.
I watched it the other day and I called the police on them. I have a really funny story about that too. But anyways, no, I think it's working the way that we've intended it to work. And I think it's promoting those downtown businesses, and we're seeing most of those vacant properties are now being filled. We got a new bookstore downtown. We've got, I know the restaurants are doing really well with the traffic that they're seeing. And then the arts and music component of it is really taking off because we're getting some additional concerts now at the Tota Theater, the Candlelight concerts. I don't know if you had a chance to go check those out. Those were fantastic. I went to Dirty Dancing the other night at the Civic Center, and it was a 40-minute wait to get into the restaurants downtown. So you're seeing how all this private-public partnership is really connecting those dots.
Yeah.
And then we're keeping the lights up, year-round, which, people, all through Christmas, they're like, why can't we have these up year-round?
Yeah.
And I felt the exact same way. So
Yeah, that's been a really nice change. I actually drove down there, took my mom through there the other day. She hadn't been through Main Street, and she just loved all the trees that were lit up. And I have to say, there wasn't a parking space on Main Street. It was full, and there were people walking around, and it was such a nice change from just a few years ago where downtown was just, crickets. It was just empty.
So we're seeing that happen. And we obviously what we're looking for here, and a lot of people ask the question, well, are you really putting the cart before the horse in this situation? Because government's now taking a role in trying to renovate areas to really entice investment, private investment and development. But I think it's working. And it's an exciting component to share with new people who are coming to the community. It's also been a big part of the outreach for tourism and those kind of things. So we want to keep encouraging that.
Yeah, the private sector needs to work with the public sector to really make this area as attractive as possible, because it just helps all of us.
Sure.
And that's really a key component. And it looks like to me, as much of an outsider as I am, that it is working. And it's working well. And hats off to all the people that rolled their sleeves up for years to make these projects finally come to fruition.
Well, when you think about the public component, all the number of presentations that were given trying to gather public input on what they wanted to see happen there, that this is the outcome of those public meetings. And anytime, somebody's decried it, I've asked them, well, did you go to any of the public meetings? Did you well, I didn't know about those public meetings. So it's an opportunity to educate folks to understand that, your local government's not just out there trying to do all these things willy-nilly. Like, a lot of these things are very strategic, and they're coming from a place especially from the voice of individuals who have lived here and want to see us be successful and grow.
That was going to be a question I had, Nate. So I'm third generation here, and my grandparents had a farm. So really the farming town, that's where I grew up with, what I grew up with. And obviously seeing the growth just in my lifetime has been a huge shift, especially I would say these last few years. Is there a point where you want to, is it just grow, or are you trying to conserve some of these old, kind of the special parts about Farmington that we had too? The farms and even like the apples. I know that Berg Park's working on bringing back some of those strains, but is there anything that you're doing to conserve the small town feel, or is it just focused on growth right now? I
think what I was, we use the word mandated, but when I was elected mayor, that was the number one goal, was growth, because of the shrinkage that was already occurring. How do we stem the tide of the businesses that we're losing right now, of the high paying jobs that we're losing right now? How are we going to get out of this? If you can say we're trying to conserve, for example, the river corridor, and making sure that we're taking care of that component of it, we're certainly doing that. I'm not looking to change any zoning in regards to what may be currently farm areas. What we've tried to do is work with San Juan College in a partnership for the food hub, which is really targeting our local growers. There's like 2,300 farmers in San Juan County. how do we bring their products to market in a much broader component, and working with the growers market, the food hub. You can purchase all those products online from local growers, which I think is fantastic. So we've tried to work diligently on that end, but there is a need, and especially in the game that you all are in, there's a need for housing. And so I do anticipate there's going to be those areas that have traditionally maybe been wide open areas where you're going to see development occurring for the first time in our lifetimes. We've had a lot of interest come in from developers for affordable housing projects to higher end housing projects. So I think you're going to see some of that get eaten up because of the other part of it too, as you know, is just the minimal amount of private land that we actually have available.
Yeah.
I am interested in having conversations with the Bureau of Land Management in the state to discuss ways that we can annex or incorporate some of this BLM land that we have around us. And surely they're doing that in other communities. I've heard them doing it in Nevada. And that in my mind, it would be a good step forward because we need more land inventory.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I really answered that.
No, that's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, we need to make a push on building because, if we had a major push with oil and gas, let's say, or something to that effect, we'd be in trouble. We just don't have the housing to support a boom like that.
Well, the guys who are coming to the table with us now, they're telling us that what we see in the numbers going on here in Farmington is in the next 8 years, you're going to need us. And so how can we put together plans now to ensure that we can try and meet that? But you're seeing this housing shortage across.
And are these developers that you're working with, or housing development?
There's national developers that have come in. There's a big group out of Albuquerque that's come in, and and a lot of that has to do. And I know in our next segment we're kind of talking future stuff, but there's a lot of little components that are going to be occurring, not necessarily within the city of Farmington, but abroad, that are really going to tie into where that demand is really going to need to be. The supply is, we're going to have to find a way to make it happen.
Yeah, we have to make it happen. Well, speaking of that, part 2, we are actually winding down for part 1. It went by pretty quick.
It does.
Yeah. Gosh, there's just not enough time to ask and answer all these questions.
We didn't even talk about the all abilities park either.
I know.
I was going to say there are so many more projects.
Yeah, we'll get into that, and we'll start the next episode with that, the all abilities part, because I do want to hear a little bit about that. Yeah. We'll move right into the future. Great conversation. Great update from you and leadership regarding what's happening right now. A lot of projects, a lot of moving parts here in the Farmington area. And really, to me, it's like finally kind of completing the circle of who we are. And then for the years moving forward, we really just build upon that image. So that's great to hear. Thank you for all your leadership there.
Well, thank you guys for your support and feedback.
We appreciate it, because I know oftentimes it can be a thankless job. So we're here to say thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and there's a pothole on 20.
Yeah, right. Just take a picture of it.
That's right. Send it. Just text it to me. So thank you for listening to this episode of The Den. If you like the content, please go to sjcbroker.com. You can schedule a private consultation with any one of us here, the partners at the Lions Group. Thank you again, Mr. Mayor, for joining us for part 1 of the 2-part series talking about the state of the market today and what's on the horizon. So thank you again for listening to this episode of The Den. Until next time, we'll see you then. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Den, powered by the Lions Group. Hit the subscribe button to keep informed, and check the show notes below for direct links to our buyer and seller video series. The buyer and seller video series can give you an inside track on taking the right steps in real estate. If you'd like to learn more about the Lions Group or to schedule a consultation, go to sjcbroker.com. Complex markets require complex strategies. The Lions Group can give you a true advantage in any market. Whether you're buying or selling, residential or commercial, contact us directly at sjcbroker.com. We're time-tested experts with a client-first approach, and we'll see you next time in The Den.